You might expect to hear your elected representatives debating such issues as the drinking age, gun control, civil rights, and the environment. But those topics are also being discussed in our high schools, and area students recently brought the debates to Milwaukee City Hall.
The meeting of the Milwaukee Common Council will now come to order. Will the city clerk please call the roll?
Alderman Herron.
You will usually hear the 17 elected members of the Milwaukee Common Council debating the issues of the day in the council chambers at City Hall. But area high school students took to the floor recently to show off their debating skills in what is called a student congress.
Students are doing legislation and they're acting as congressmen, so what more fitting than an actual room where legislation is debated and discussed.
The 5 schools taking part in this mock legislative assembly submitted 36 proposed pieces of legislation. Students from each delegation selected 8 to be debated and voted on. The choices ranged from proposals to mandate recess and eliminate rap music, to censorship, capital punishment, or raising the minimum wage by $1.
Inflation has continued to rise, and there's just not enough money to go around. When you adjust the current minimum wage, currently it falls to $4.90 an hour, but if inflation continues, it will fall even lower. Raising the minimum wage would offer many advantages.
We ought not make the minimum wage an attractive job offer. What we need to do is take some time, implement adult education programs to work to get adults who are the sole breadwinners of their families off minimum wage.
It's pretty cool because, you know, it really kind of challenges you in some ways because you have to be very analytical. You have to critically think. You can't just go up there and be like, oh, I don't like this, so we shouldn't do it. You have to really give reasons. And your goal is to ultimately persuade and even perhaps convince somebody that you're on the right side. So it's very challenging at points, but it's a great deal of fun at the same time.
There is a lot of preparation that goes into it. You do want to do your research and get statistics, maybe questions and things to spark off that. You can't really go into it not knowing anything. You have to be knowledgeable of the subject.
It's a great way for students to practice their oral and verbal articulation skills and their critical thinking skills. Talk about thinking on your feet. Acting as a congressman is definitely it.
Our welfare system has been one of the huge, one of the biggest waste of money in our country's history. We have spent $9.1 trillion in the period from 1963 to 1998. This has come as part of our war on poverty, which kind of like our war on drugs has failed quite miserably.
Charity today does not have the adequate funding to fund and help all those people on welfare. Many people who are on welfare are in the urban communities, and there are not enough urban organizations out there that can provide the adequate funding. As it says, $9.1 trillion in 1998. Not too many organizations can fund $9.1 trillion to help this out.
Oh, it teaches kids so many positive things about dealing with people. It is a program that and an activity that lasts their entire life. We've had kids come back to Marquette High School and say, you know, I really aced my college interview because of forensics.
A student congress is usually held in a library or large classroom, but this time it was in the ornate and historic council chambers of City Hall. Over 100 years old, the largest city council chamber in the United States. Classic columns around the room highlight a Latin phrase denoting a virtue of civil government. The many decorative elements portray the theme of human endeavor and progress. What does it mean to debate in this environment?
This is truly exciting. Most of the time we're just kind of pitched up in some library or some, you know, utility closet over to the side, kind of thrown together. And it's actually really cool because it makes you feel like you're really kind of legislating. You're really in a political environment. It's very well organized, and it just really has the kind of environment that really is conducive to this kind of activity.
It's really exciting. You really get the feeling that you really are a senator or representative, and I mean, it's almost like role-playing here. It's a lot of fun, and you really have the aura of everything that's going on in the Congress, whole political type feeling. It really does bring out the essence of what we're doing.
And if we don't see these young people debating in a legislative setting as adults, they've learned how to organize and understand information, the ability to think on their feet, the ability to persuade, all vital lifelong communication skills.